Hey guys, we're back at it again, and today I'm going to show you how to maintain the fluid in your power steering system. Now, if you want your car to still have the original power steering pump like mine, or at least keep the one you have running as long as possible to avoid expensive repairs, then I'm going to show you how to maintain your power steering fluid. Now, this isn't going to show you how to completely flush it out if you got old power steering fluid, or at least do a complete changeover with the machine or anything like that. This is going to show you, especially if you have a reservoir, just a drain and fill, how to do it properly, because if you use a flushing machine, you might risk running air into the system, and that might just end the life of your pump once and for all. So to do this, it's going to take a few simple tools and just fluid. Anybody can do this, especially if you got a separate reservoir for your power steering like on most Hondas. Now, the biggest question is what fluid I should use for my car. The easiest way to figure that out is to go to the dealership and buy the OEM fluid for your car, because sometimes the power steering fluid is actually automatic transmission fluid. And if you go to the Acura dealership, they give it to you in this shiny silver bottle because Acura. Where you can, if you know what fluid your car takes, you can always go to the aftermarket parts store and buy aftermarket fluid. This one is a Bardahl fluid that I was using for a couple of years, made for Hondas and Acuras. And this fluid wasn't too bad. I thought I would be saving some money, but in reality this was about $6-7 at the parts store. And this OEM fluid, same amount of milliliters, and it was $9. So you know what, to have the confidence of running OEM fluid over an aftermarket fluid, which, you know, it might be correct for the car, but if you don't want to risk it, the $2 I'm not too worried about. So I'm going to be putting OEM fluid in my car. Now, the easiest way to find out if your power steering fluid needs changing, just take the cap out, get a white paper towel, and just see what color the fluid is. And the darker it is, then it's time to at least do some sort of fluid change. Now, this one's not too bad. You can still see there's some color and it's pretty clear. If it were burnt, it would be dark brown or black. That's when you know you really should change it. And not only do this, but change the fluid in the reservoir 2 or 3 times, just to be on the safe side, just to get all of the contaminated fluid, because old power steering fluid will make the steering still feel a little stiffer, a little tighter, especially on cold weathers, and will add extra wear on your rack and pinion and your power steering pump. And those, man, on some cars, they can be a real expensive adventure to change. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to show you what you need to change the fluid in your system. So you're going to need an old oil jug to put the old fluid in, and a fluid transfer pump. I keep this in a bag because this is all full of oil and it makes a mess. Now, to set this up with a transfer pump, you just get the suction side connected to the reservoir, or the fill hole for the power steering fluid system if you don't have a reservoir, and then the other side, the output side, into a fluid container. Set it up like this, and then you just pump away until the reservoir is empty. Now, you could use a fluid transfer pump. That's the method I recommend, because this can also work if your car doesn't have a power steering fluid reservoir. It's just going into one sump in a suction tube. Or you can use a turkey baster or something that will fit in this reservoir, and then you can just suck it out and then put it in the hole anyway, or in the jug anyway. Now, once you have everything set up, just start pumping away with the transfer pump. Now, once you have your old oil in the waste oil container, you can measure how much came out if you don't have a reservoir before you fill up. But in the case here, we have a reservoir with a high and low level, so we can just fill it up to the upper level. Now we just take our power steering fluid and then carefully fill it up to the upper level. Now, on the Honda, you want to fill up to the upper level because that's the maximum level. The lower level is actually the minimum level of this reservoir. Now, I just want to quickly show you what Honda OEM fluid looks like when fresh. It's practically clear with like a little tinge of like a blue silver kind of thing, but it's supposed to be clear like water. The fluid we took out was dark and golden color. That's normal, but if it starts turning like dark brown and black, that's when you should change it. So now we're just gonna, I got that out of the way. I can pour a little faster. That's about right. Yeah, you don't want to overfill it too much because the fluid will expand when it gets hot. It'll go slightly past the upper level, which is normal. So that's the normal. And you can just put the cap down, and we're gonna go in the car and turn the wheel a few times. Now to verify everything's been fixed, just go ahead and start the car. Now you don't want to turn the wheels. Like, you don't want to turn the wheel when the car is stationary. That puts a lot of extra strain on the power steering and on your tires. So just, you know, move the car a little bit, put it in drive, just carefully do some turns on your driveway while the car is moving. Don't do like, brakes are squeaking a little bit, but that's only because it's cold. You know, just to get the new fluid cycling. Now, if you haven't done this to your fluid, the first time you'll probably be surprised as to how smooth the steering will feel. Right away, you'll notice a huge difference. Yeah, just do that a few times. Just be careful you don't hit anything. Once you're done all that, just check your reservoir, make sure it's at the full level, make sure there's no leaks or anything that are dripping, make sure your pump is not leaking and it's working fine. There's some sweating going on, that's normal because it's so old. We did a good job. The fluid level is alright. Fluid looks clear. And the steering does feel a little better. And yeah, that's all it really takes. Now, if you're doing this the first time, I recommend doing this method at least 3 times. Change the fluid in your reservoir once, drive it for a day, do it again the next day, and then do that for at least 3 days, so that way you get the majority of your fluid changed. The best part about this method is you can do it at home with no expensive tools, and it doesn't introduce air into the system like most flushing methods are. Like, if some people take the return line off and then just let all the fluid drain and then they turn the wheel. By doing that, yeah, you're getting rid of all the fluid, but you're also introducing air in the system, and that will just kill the seals in your power steering pump or your power steering pump outright. So that's why I don't recommend that. And then some flushing machines just move dirt around, and eventually those will fill the pump as well. This, you're just taking old fluid out of a reservoir, putting it back in, or you're taking old fluid from the sump and putting it back in, and you're not introducing any air or forcing any dirt into places where they shouldn't be. This is probably the safest. Yeah, it takes the longest to do, a couple of days, but it's so easy, you don't even need a mechanic to do it. As long as you get access to your power steering fluid and the right fluid, you should be good to go. So, this is the end of my video. Please subscribe for more videos and some other tips. I'm going to show you how to keep your car running as long as possible for as little money as possible. Stay tuned for more.